Now, the entire population of Gaza is in need of humanitarian assistance and is suffering severe levels of acute food insecurity. Those are the words of the US Secretary of State Antony Blinken, who was speaking today. It's a stark assessment of the ongoing crisis in the territory as American pressure on Israel grows. Mr. Blinken's urged Israel to prioritise the delivery of supplies into Gaza. It comes as the UN Human Rights Office has said Israel's continued restrictions on getting aid in may amount to the use of starvation as a method of war. In a phone call, President Joe Biden told the Israeli Prime Minister of his deep concerns over a planned assault on Rafah in southern Gaza. But Benjamin Netanyahu says there's no way to destroy Hamas in Rafah other than by a ground incursion. All of this as talks continue in Qatar in a bid to secure a ceasefire deal. With more, Anna Foster reports from Jerusalem.
At Gaza's southern tip, the aftermath of another Israeli airstrike. 1.4 million displaced people are now sheltering in Rafah. And Israel has made it clear it wants to go further. A ground offensive, it says, would remove Hamas from Gaza entirely. But there's international pressure to avoid even more deaths. The message from Israel's allies to its leaders is getting stronger.
Our position is that Hamas should not be allowed a safe haven in Rafah or anywhere else. But a major ground operation there would be a mistake.
As Rafah's displaced fear what might come next, their present is just as hard. Medical supplies, water and food are scarce.
My daughter said that she wants to eat boiled eggs. And I say, how can I bring you boiled eggs? The situation does not allow us to. Our situation was below zero before the war. So what do you expect after the war? Worse and worse.
In the north of Gaza, famine is now just weeks away. Few aid convoys are reaching that part of the strip. And in a second US intervention overnight, its top diplomat Antony Blinken said more needs to be done to save lives.
If you look at some of the assessments that we're seeing now, they only underscore the urgency of making sure that this assistance is a priority and that it's sustained. Again, according to the most respected measure of these things, 100% of the population in Gaza is at severe levels of acute food insecurity. That's the first time an entire population has been so classified.
Talks towards a ceasefire have restarted in Qatar.
Cautiously optimistic that the negotiations have continued.
Negotiators caution that a deal will still take time. And in Gaza's rubble, the prospect of a pause in fighting feels as far away as ever. Anna Foster, BBC News, Jerusalem.
Well, for more on that story, we can speak to Abir Etafer, who's the Senior Middle East spokesperson for the World Food Programme, the WFP. Welcome to BBC News. From your assessment and the work that your organisation does, how bad are things in Gaza?
Well, the situation, as described by everyone, is quite catastrophic. You know, we have a famine imminent in the north of Gaza, and is expected to arrive between now, any day. We could be actually in it, and May. Unless the fighting stops and aid agencies are able to send supplies and to have full access throughout Gaza, and especially the north, then hundreds, if not thousands of people, and especially children, will die of hunger and starvation. We need immediate action. If famine is certified, it will mean that many, many people have already died and too many lives have been lost.
And that means getting essential aid in. We're just showing some pictures on the screen of people who are queuing up to get food. They're holding pots and pans in those visuals that we showed a moment ago, desperate for food. How much aid are you able to get in? I mean, there is more aid going through.
You know, there is aid that's going through, but not in the way that is enough to avert the famine. The only way to address the catastrophic hunger in Gaza is to bring in huge amounts of food assistance today, tomorrow, and every day for the next few months. We need a minimum of 300 trucks going in Gaza every day, and especially to the north. WFP has food supplies that are ready to be deployed, and given the right conditions, we can scale up to feed all the 2.2 million people across Gaza, at least for a month or 2 months. We need more entry points into Gaza, including one into the north. We need the Carney crossing point, the use of Ashdod Port in Israel to bring in food aid. We need to be able to use the parallel roads from Kerem Shalom so that they are made available for daily convoys and safe access to the north. Road access is a priority. There is nothing that can replace the efficiency and actually the safety and the, having an organized delivery over land. All other attempts are going to be a drop in the ocean.
And what else can be done? I mean, we're talking about just basic food supplies now. What do people have access to at the moment?
Nothing. I mean, they have very little access to food supplies. The assistance that's trickling in, it's still really a drop in the ocean. Otherwise, we would not be sitting today and talking about an imminent famine. And the other important element that we really need is a ceasefire is a decisive factor that could turn this crisis around, as well as stopping the fighting. It would allow the humanitarian community to roll out massive relief supplies, and that is what is needed at the moment.
Okay, Abir Etefa from the World Food Programme, thank you very much for sharing your thoughts about the work that your organisation is doing in Gaza. And we've just had some lines coming into us from the Reuters news agency from the White House saying that the White House is deeply concerned about the report citing an imminent famine in Gaza. White House also saying Israel needs to allow unimpeded access for relief aid into Gaza. And Reuters also reporting that the White House is saying that there will be an Israel-US meeting on Rafah probably early next week. Of course, we've been hearing from Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu that the only way for Israel to contain Hamas is by that incursion, which has been much talked about into Rafah. It's not happened yet. And of course, the US, among other international powers who've raised concerns about that. We'll have more on those comments from the White House when we get them.